and drop it in. Lovely, jubbly, lovely. Go, go, go. I love this bike. Love it. So, the Triumph 675 Speed Triple on a 57 plate. So what's that? The end of 2007, beginning 2008. And first impressions, I have to say, this engine is tight as you like. What can I say? The seating position is good. The handlebars are nice. It's purposeful without being too bent over. Everything's where you want it to be. The gearbox is okay on the way down. Oh, the clutch has got a nice weight to it actually. I always loved this colour when it first came out. This is back in the day when there's very few manufacturers did any crazy colours. Now it seems that everybody's on that bandwagon. And that's a great bit of pickup there. That's 6th gear, 40 mile an hour. And it wants to go. I always bring bikes down this road because it's bumpy as hell. And it can tell you a lot about a bike really. This slow speed, lumps and bumps. Not so much whether the suspension is clanging about, but how it feels on your wrists, how the headstock is reacting, how the engine braking is. I mean, that was 4th down there and it sat quite nicely. And the other benefit of this road is when you do get a car coming towards you and you have to react, it really lets you know how it behaves in times of crisis. Just like that. Whoa! Right, let's pull over and have a walk round. So here we have a 57 plate, so that's late 2007, perhaps early 2008, street triple 675. A cracking bike. I remember when it first came out, as I said earlier, that this green was a rare old thing back in the day when no one was doing bright colours. Now everyone seems to do it. But I'm really surprised by this little bike, and as I said, I never got a chance to ride one when they came out. I found the headlights back in the day a bit too controversial, particularly if it doesn't have a fly screen like that. They always looked like they were a bit of an afterthought. But this particular bike cost the owner about 3.5 grand last year, so it would have been, was that 15, 16 years old at that point, which I think, having just ridden it, 3.5 grand for this, and if it was sold today in its current condition would be about 3. That's a lot of fun for 3 grand for my money. He did tell me that the shock is past its best, the rear shock, so perhaps that is a thing to change. Let's ignore the rust on it. It's got some crash buns stuck onto it. It's got replacement indicators, I think. The stock exhaust sounds great. I don't believe this is an optional extra. You have to make that yourself. The owner assures me that he didn't make that, he inherited that. We'll have to take his word for it. But they just don't make bikes like this anymore. It's so not throttled like all the bikes we see there for the Euro emissions. They're just really strangling the hell out of these bikes. And a bike at this age, no such concern. Other than a few little spots of rust here and there. As I said, I think it's done, let's have a look, 11,766 miles. Consider my old GS did 17,000 miles in 18 months. This is barely run in. It's one of those bikes for me, it would be a great bike to customise the hell out of it, or just run it into the ground. The owner's also got a Ducati Super Sport. I don't know what I'd rather ride actually. The ergonomics of this bike was cracking, and I'll show you the seat height in a minute. But everything's nice and simple. The dash is clear. The switch gear is not fussy. The clutch was light. The gearbox was light. And it wants to go. I need a bigger garage. So, let's have a look at the seat height. It's got a sort of acceleration and speed feel where you're getting the feeling of speed without the doing of speed. The sound's right. The throttle response is right. You're feeling that front end lift up. The mirrors are in the wrong position for me, but they are. There's no vibration. The key thing for me, doing these Ross rides scores with other people's bikes, is you can find a review on this bike when it was new. You can't find a review particularly on this bike at this age with this many miles. And I think if you're shopping for a second bike, or you're on a tight budget, or it's your first big bike, I don't want to know how good the bike was when it came out of the box. I want to know how the bike's aged. That tells you far more. The thing I do think, sitting here right now, other than the colour, the visuals of the age of this bike, there's nothing to say that it's old. There we go. Drop it down one. Lean it in. There's another bend. Drop it down again. That brakes a little bit. See all that noise, and it's not going mental speeds. This is just the right amount of fun without being silly. No quick shift. There's the mistake of modern bikes. Didn't want to go up a gear under load. What a fabulous little bike. Fucking quick shift. It's funny actually, in a modern day bike, it seems to be that a 675 would, it's not a lot of bike, but how to say it, 10-15 years ago, 20 years ago, 675 was a serious bit of kit. And it's why I always, when I had sports bikes, I had 600s, because I want to use the gearbox, and on this you most definitely do. It's nice to actually have to ride a bike. Go! The brakes are all right, you know, they're not grabby. My monster brakes are kind of all or nothing, but they were all right. And that fifth gear acceleration, it's all you need. And then you come down to this speed, 30 mile an hour. What am I in? Fifth gear. There's no kangarooing. It'll wind on nicely. Still a bit of engine braking. Yet, if you saw this for sale, you're going to look past it because you want a newer bike. So, just back from the ride on the Street Triple 675 on a 2007/2008, 11,000 miles, three and a half grand. I'm really impressed. I haven't ridden a bike like that in a long time. I've not had that much fun on a bike in a long time. Because I think it almost reminds me of like riding a 310 or the Himalayan. There's no technology getting in the way. It's just an honest bike. There's no collector box which is throttling the hell out of the engine. There's no unnecessary electronics getting in the way. Although I did fall foul of not having a quick shift. I guess I've become lazier than I thought. But these bikes, for the money they cost, the fun they offer, the practicality they offer, the comfort, in that case the seat height for me, all the ergonomics were great, the power was perfect, it sounded lovely. I don't know. It just undoes the argument for brand new bikes. Says the guy with two of them. Still. Anyway, if you'd like to be a part of other people's bikes, Ross Rides Reviews, send me an email to this email address here, get in contact, and we could see what we can do and hopefully film your bike and give people the benefit of the knowledge of your bike should they be in the market for it. Anyway. So now it's the Ross Reviews score for the Triumph Street Triple 675 from 2007. For styling, I give it a 4, which sits between basic with standard styling and simple, functional, lacking in flair. It's an old bike now, and that's a fair result. For acceleration and its 0 to 60, I give that a 7, which sits in the categories between 3 and 3.9, straddling 2 bands. For handling, I give it a 7, which again straddles 2 bands, which is sharp, agile, well balanced, and responsive with good feedback. It has good handling. I think 7's a fair score. And for torque, I score it a 4, which sits at 78 Newton meters of torque, which is bands 3 to 4, so I give it a 4. And for cool, I score it a 5, which is competent, practical and light, and functional with decent appeal. I think this bike still stands up, which gives it a total weekend score of 27. For the day score, it gets a 5, which is average, features some modern technology, but not cutting edge. Again, it's an old bike. For comfort, it gets a 6, above average comfort, reasonably suited for long rides, which I think is very true and fair. Miles to the gallon, I give this a 5. There was some conflicting results, but a 5 is average fuel consumption around 40 to 50. Practicality, I give it a 3, which is below average practicality, not ideal for passengers or storage. And for cost, this is 3 to 3,500. So this gets a 10, giving it a daily score of 29. Now, adding those two scores together, that's a 56. That's quite a respectable score, sitting between the Ducati Hypermotard 698 and the BMW S1000R. That's an interesting result. And I think the more and more older bikes I do, you'll start to see how they truly stack up against modern, much more expensive bikes. Thanks for watching.